Sounds good hearing that.
It's been a little bit, bro.
Sounds good hearing that, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Long cut. What's up? Man, I talked to JT the other day.
Yeah?
He's doing good, man. We talked about him coming back on, and but he's on the ground. They're doing their thing.
Yep.
Good dude. It's always good to hear their vibe when we kick a Friday off. It's been a couple weeks. Yeah. We've been a little busy.
A lot busy.
Yeah, man. I think we've got some goals for the podcast for 2021. We've had a great come out. The first year and a half that we've been doing this, and great times. And we started putting people on the podcast, which is cool. Dan Bailey, Andy Frisella, Brian Shontosh, Brian Shontosh.
That's right.
Brian Shontosh. Look at me. You're a goddamn cult. You understand? Don't you worry about a damn thing.
Not a cult, a cult.
You're a cult.
Yeah.
You're either a cult, you're a cop, you're a goddamn cult. Don't you worry about a thing. Super good dude. A lot of great times, man. We've got some goals as far as some other things we want to, other people we want to have on, people we want to have back on. We're heading out to see Andy Frisella in St. Louis next week, so we'll be on his. We'll share that episode, video and audio, over to here onto ours. So if you guys, enjoy the podcast, we appreciate all the support. Yeah. If you guys want to, like this and share it with your friends, if you think it brings value, really appreciate it. We're super big on iTunes and Spotify and all that. We don't monetize YouTube too much, so you'll probably see a view here or there. But if you do like watching the videos, you can always find Day $1 Zero podcast on YouTube. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to get back to it on a more regular basis. I don't want to say we haven't done it, and man, we've been busy, and that's an excuse. There's not really an excuse because we never really committed to going twice a week, once a week. We've talked about it, like, man, that would be cool if we did that, and hey, where would that fit in with real estate and everything else that we're doing? And now that we're starting to just organize a lot of the workload a lot better, it looks like we've got that time, and it's just been a lot of fun. We really enjoy it, and the people that benefit from it, the private messages we get, and the people that are coming on that are giving value to our audience. It's so cool. It's valuable enough you don't want to not do it.
Yeah.
So we're definitely excited to kick off January and really committing to that once a week, if not more. But we're going to definitely sit down and do the once a week.
Well, and that's a big thing, guys. We want to make sure that we are putting out quality content for you guys, and we're not just doing an episode for the sake of doing an episode. You tend to see that a lot in podcasting where people are just kind of doing something to do it, and we want to make sure that if you guys are tuning in, you're giving us 30 minutes, an hour and a half of your time, that we've got some good stuff for you.
Yeah, and story time is fun. I like how the stories tend to pop up while people are talking about like their start, and just the ground up and what was their day $1 Zero, and it tends to just open up a lot of different memories and stories that bloom, and really cool. Really cool. Dan Cirillo shared a lot when he was on. Good friend of ours. And Dan, what's up, brother? Love you. Hope you're feeling better, and it seems like you are. But yeah, man, it's just been a lot of fun. I'm actually reflecting here in real time, and just super excited for 2021. Yeah, just excited for it, man. Today we got a fun one, and it kind of goes into the topic when we talk about, hey, we're going to commit to that once a week, and really putting that time in and just expanding the podcast to more people coming on. Even if we're out of state, we got to somehow do this mobile. We'll figure that out, but we're going to commit to that and really do a good job with it, and just do the best that we can. But it's a great segue into today's topic. We're going to be talking about the constant negotiation of life, right? And this is just something that was just kind of creeping into my head these last couple of weeks, and I wasn't really sure how to say it. I'm still not sure if I know quite how to say it, but I'm sure everybody has it. It's that voice inside of your head. Should you do something? Should you not? Are you willing to put the work in? Are you not? Are you telling yourself you're going to do something, but in reality you're not? And then just over-indexing, right? So the negotiations you have with yourself, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, what you allow yourself to be okay with. I think they're great conversations. We did the 75 hard challenge not too long ago, and I'd never want to fucking do it again.
Nope. I'm good, man.
Andy, I love you, dude, and I know you're doing it throughout the entire year, and you're supporting everybody that's following First Form, and I commend you for it. It was hard, but it definitely exposed, some things for myself, is like those little talks inside your head, even just the little small ones, and then just protecting your words, like you're talking to your friend, like, yeah, man, I think I should lose 10 pounds, like, yeah, bro, hey, no, maybe you shouldn't, dude, you look great. Nah, I kind of want to, and then just fades. But you get so used to just saying things aloud, and maybe like just saying it makes you feel better about it, but then you're not actually committed. And I think something we should all think about is just protecting our words and protecting, what you're committed to, and being okay to say no, but also understanding when you need to say yes and when you need to put work in. And then we're going to get into over-indexing. And I use an example on Instagram. I'll read the example, not an example. I'll read the excerpt that we have on Instagram, that I have on Instagram, Will_Grimes, if you guys don't follow. Not that I'm worth a follow, but if you want to read along, please do. Let's see here. All right. Life is a constant negotiation, a negotiation with yourself, what you're okay with, what you're not, what level of work you are willing to put in, what level of effort you are willing to give others. Consistent, you get it. Digging deeper, assuming the constant piece is agreed upon, the areas in which you negotiate aren't consistent at all. Matter of fact, they are typically far from it. Example, someone is extremely fit. They push themselves to every limit to achieve the highest level of success with said fitness, even the workouts that they strongly dislike. They eat right, get proper sleep, and anything else that moves the needle forward for them. However, example person doesn't apply these same behaviors toward their business goals. He or she isn't organized. He or she doesn't commit to the time toward growth or practical applications that enhance their abilities, and he or she doesn't do the hard stuff they strongly dislike. And ultimately, they negotiate with themselves why hard stuff isn't best suited for them or isn't toward the direction they want to move. When in reality, it's just their level of discomfort and insecurity sinking in and running the negotiations. In reality, he or she isn't even putting in the adequate level of work in any category toward their business, and zero in the ones they don't like. You don't like doing squats, but you do them. You don't accuse squats of being cliche or only for D-bags, and if you do, it's definitely your negotiation with yourself that you don't want to do them. So you make them ugly or for people less than you. In other words, you lie. But the results are there. Squats work. Another example, marketing/social media doesn't make you a D-bag. Your intent does. Let me read that again. Marketing yourself. Go there. Marketing yourself. Social media does not make you a D-bag. Your intent does. But marketing and social media is hard to be great at. It requires a higher level of effort and consistency toward expansion and attention toward the relationships you reach and grow with. But you don't want to do that, huh? Because that's for D-bags. Well, I know a shit ton of D-bags that work out, but that doesn't stop you, does it? Learn to stop comparing yourself in business to others. D-bags are everywhere in everything. Be yourself, be you at scale, and be the best at it. So that's kind of like the example I wrote. It's not an example. That's a excerpt I wrote on Instagram, and it's more, it kind of like leads into the negotiations you have with yourself and what you're okay with. More so also kind of covers over-indexing, right? Where like, in Eli, you and I know some folks, we come from the fitness world. So this is not an attack. This is not calling any of a specific friend out that happens to be in fitness or something like that. But man, we've been in fitness for a long time. We know a lot of high-level achievers, whether it's bodybuilding, CrossFit, man, we know a lot of them at the highest levels. And a lot of them also want to have a business, and they want to be an entrepreneur, and they want to grow a brand. So it's not an attack on anyone, because you could also flip this. Somebody that's brilliant at business, but man, they're just not taking care of themselves, and then they make an excuse that they're rich or the negotiation, dad bod.
I don't want to get too big excuse. That's the best one of them all, man.
Dude, I remember somebody saying that to me, and I'm just like,
that's the best one of them all.
Do you know how much? Do you know the massive amount of inappropriate food and lack of calorie burn I do?
Yeah.
I'm being funny, but there's a ton of work behind those guys that get huge, and not saying you got to get huge, but again, it just bleeds into that negotiation with yourself. I don't want to get too big. Oh, you're right, man. Thank God you said that. Only work out once a month, because that'll keep you from getting too big for sure. Depending on how you look at it. Or, again, man, just like fitting into a category. Dad bod. Right? Oh, dad bod. Oh, yeah. Like, you got kids. You got some extra weight. Like, it's okay. Like, okay. I'm not even talking about your physical appearance. I'm just talking about being a healthy human and just paying attention. And here's the deal, though. If you're looking at being an entrepreneur or in business, like, not taking care of yourself, it's a physical representation of your behavior. I'm not saying you got to be a bodybuilder. I'm not saying that at all. I'm far from it. But it does matter. Your presentation and the representation of how well you pay attention and take care of yourself, that does matter, especially if people are trusting you as a customer and they're using your business. Like those things matter. So it's like, it's that too. So this isn't an attack on anybody, any of our friends in fitness or anything like that. It's just one of the examples, or what's the examples that I use on Instagram because it's one that stands out the most to me. And it's like, man, it's crazy how you see guys that are extremely proficient and hardworking and consistent and just dialed at the physical side, and then maybe the hard part for them is like, hey, a lot of your physical endeavors is kind of the brand, but you've got to get onto certain platforms to post that, to project it and to preach it, but they're uncomfortable marketing themselves, or they know of someone that does that and like, oh, well, he's a D-bag. Like, you're right. He's a D-bag. Social media is not. It's framework. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, without people going in and using in developing content, it's empty. Correct? Facebook and Instagram is like a huge empty honeycomb with nothing in it, man. It's like it's the user that goes in and that does that. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like whether they're censoring stuff and this and that with politics, because we're not talking about that. We're definitely not censoring you. If you have good stuff and you're consistent, it's important. And there's different ways to go about how you want to market yourself. You don't have to market it and unsolicit it to everybody. You can create private groups and invite people to be in those groups, and you can deliver a message to like-minded people that are seeking more of you. There's ways of doing it, right? But man, it's just like I've seen a pattern for the past couple of years of that, and just a lot of great people, man, that I just wish people had more of. And I'm obviously, for the sake of entertainment, I'm using the douchebag example. Not everybody I know is calling everybody on social media D-bag, but there's a couple that constantly get used as an example. And it's like, man, but yeah, there's a lot of D-bags in bodybuilding. There's a lot of D-bags in CrossFit, but that's not stopping you from participating. But then over here where you're uncomfortable and it's unknown and unfamiliar and you haven't put the work in, you're using that same example as a reason not to put in the work, versus over here it might frustrate you or aggravate you, but it doesn't stop you one bit.
Yeah. It's also hard too, man, when, you've got to look at results, right? So it's like whatever you label the outside, the debaggery or whatever it is, man, you can't argue with results, right? And there's a lot of douchebags that have a lot of great results online, and a lot of people that love these so-called D-bags. And not only do people love them, but their business and their bank account and their following reflects that. Yeah. So it's one thing to not want to emulate somebody's style, but man, you've got to be able to kind of look at the framework of what they've done. And like you said, how can I apply this to where I'm at? Because they obviously have a winning formula.
Yeah. There's a lot of douchebags that drive fast cars. So you hate that car because that guy?
A lot of people do.
Maybe.
A lot of people do.
But then maybe if you do, it's like, hey, you're probably right that people do. And that's at that very small incremental level where you allow thoughts to bleed in. And they're going to affect you on the big scale where all of a sudden you don't even promote yourself at all. Because you're so afraid of looking like a D-bag. Like, man, the sentence I wrote about intent, hey, your intent matters. And here's the deal. You're not going to always make everybody your friend. Not everybody's always going to like you. People are going to, it's all good. For me, man, like if I don't care for somebody, I'm not going to just, and I'm not saying anybody's doing this, so I'm just speaking out loud, but like, I'm not going to put discredit to anything, right? Like people's bank account, people's clout on Instagram, and yeah, maybe I think he's a douchebag. And I'm not going to mention any names. I do think there's some D-bags out there. And I don't shit on what they're doing. Obviously it works, and look, hey, there's a consumer for it. The bottom line is like, why am I mad at him? Apparently, if I think he's that and there's a ton of people following and listening, it's like, well, that's their fault. If they're idiots, or maybe I'm the idiot for even having an opinion. But the bottom line is, I'm not even looking at the individual there. You know what I mean? Like, if I go buy a shirt, I'm cognizant of what I look like in that shirt. I don't go put that shirt on everybody and see who it looks best on or what I don't like about it. And then if a dude looks better in that shirt than me, I don't buy the shirt. Yeah. I put the shirt on in the dressing room, and if it looks good on me and I like it, cool. But that shirt is like your social media. Okay, like I'm not concerned about what other people look like wearing it. I'm concerned about what I look like wearing it, and how I feel I represent myself. Period. And I just wish that people would, especially good people, man, that really have an impact on people's lives. I wish they would focus on the people that they can change and focus on the impact they are going to have versus putting energy toward being afraid of looking like someone.
One thing that I think is really easy to overlook with social media, particularly in terms of content creation and YouTube videos and stuff like that, is because we just see a number registered on a screen, it's easy to forget how many people you're actually impacting. Like, let's say, for example, you get 10 views on a podcast video, for example. If you had 10 physical people sitting in a room, and you're like playing your shit to them, that I think that would feel pretty good.
True. Well, and here's the deal: if you're worried about how many people are viewing it, and is that what matters?
Right.
And if that's what you're overly concerned about, okay, well, now you've got to ask yourself why you're doing it in the first place, and if your intent's in the right place. Because if your intent is to do it predicated on 200 people or 10,000 people watching, you know what I mean? Like, now I'm starting to question your intent. Is this for you or is it for others? And I'm not saying that I don't get anything out of this podcast. Now, of course I feel good on this podcast. Of course it does something to me to have cameras on and speak my mind and that someone gets something from it. But what's most important is that people get something from it. That's what's most important. And when you first started working out, when you first started CrossFit, were you a CrossFit Games champion? No. You didn't have, right. So same thing, like when you first start out, you're not going to have that many viewers, and that's okay, but word of mouth helps. Constant effort, like if you're building a Facebook group, like constant effort to get people into a group that want more of you, that are also preaching about you and mentioning people, and word of mouth is still so powerful. You see a lot of guys great at it, man. How many people talk about Andy Frisella and Gary Vaynerchuk?
A lot.
Because they're just fans. Matter of fact, Andy Frisella says, hey, I don't have any advertisements on my podcast. He's like, I'm not against it, but I'm not here to make the money on the podcast. There's only one obligation and one bill you got to pay. If this podcast helps you, tell a friend. And that's cool. Yep. But then, dude, people have asked me before, like, hey, man, do you listen to Andy? Like we'll have a good entrepreneur conversation. Usually one of those names pops up. And that's the power of, even though social media is around, there's still an extraordinary power behind word of mouth. However, both of those guys are also at scale. So it doesn't mean that you're just going to grow by word of mouth by itself. These guys also scale. We were talking about Jordan Peterson the other day. Because we hear about the douchebags on camera, right? Oh, I don't want to be that guy, or man, I don't want to come off or make people think I'm that guy. It's one guy.
Yeah.
What about all these other guys you like? Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson. You don't think Jordan Peterson has a brand and a crew behind him that take long form content and chop it up into 5-minute, 3-minute, and 30-second videos? You think he's the one just putting all these fucking letters on the screen and transcribing it? There's a whole company and a whole brand behind Jordan Peterson. But here's the deal. His intent is good, and I think he's a good human. And I'm okay if he has a team market to me, because man, I want to absorb his content, and that's okay. And if the fact that I'm absorbing his content means I'm going to see douchebags every once in a while because they hashtag Jordan Peterson on there because people are trying to get into the network that he's built, like, we know how social media marketing works, right? Like when you're trying to grow yourself, some people try to target Joe Rogan followers, Jordan Peterson followers, Andy Frisella followers, Jocko Willick's followers. And then you try to like get your content in front of those people because you feel, hey, if they like Jocko's, maybe they'll like mine, or maybe they won't. The bottom line is some of those people even duplicate or try to emulate that person. Do you know how many Gary V's I've seen? Do you know how many Jockos I've seen? They're copies. They're copying that person's content. But here's the deal. Everyone knows Jordan Peterson. And everyone knows if you're repeating his shit, he's not going to come out and attack you and waste his time on you, right? It's the same reason why Apple doesn't fight Samsung. We fucking know we're better. And you guys want to keep saying you're better, like you want to keep bringing us up, but we don't bring you up because we have no idea who you are. Same thing. If people are doing that, just understand, like, is it good? Not saying it's good. Should it be allowed? I don't know. Like that's a hard one, but the bottom line is people know the originals. People know those tree trunks, man, that are pillars in the community, and you can never duplicate them because they're always going to be 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of you because you're too busy absorbing content they used to make. Right? And they're already moving and progressing and moving forward, and there's that. But just because you have D-bags doing that doesn't make you a D-bag. And just because there's D-bags doing something completely different doesn't mean you're going to fall into that category at all. And I feel like when folks are afraid of that, I feel like, man, it's more about the unknown and insecurity and lack of faith that they can excel in that on those platforms and in business like they excel physically.
Yeah, and you know what I think it is, man? I think a lot of it, too, is it's their fear of they know, right? Of course, we know I'm not a D-bag. I'm not a D-bag at all. But the fear that people might think you are a D-bag, and I think that's what's going to be my next suggestion, man.
Get
like,
over it.
there's plenty of people that think these D-bags that we're talking about online, and aren't that. Aren't that they've impacted a ton of people. And that just comes down to the super overplayed cliche thing of your haters. But I think that is just one thing to understand is like, hey, I can't make everyone happy. Even me being 100% Eli, someone's going to think I'm a douchebag. Just like I think this guy's a douchebag.
Yeah, and here's the deal. If people are going out of the way to think that or write or attack you or something like that, it's more probably their own issues with themselves. Because, dude, I do see some guys online that I think are D-bags. You're never going to see me comment on it. Because first and foremost, I know that my comment on there that's negative means nothing and holds no weight. And I could just unfollow the guy or it's not that even that I'm following him. It's that because like in my news feed, they pop up because they target guys I do follow. So unfriend them or not follow them on Facebook at all. Like they still pop up in your news feed because they're targeting people who, like if I'm listening to Jordan Peterson and then one of these D-bags targets fans of Jordan Peterson, he's going to pop up, right? Well, I can just scroll. Man, I can just scroll.
Just scroll, what I mean? Man.
Because I understand, like, hey, my opinion there that's going to be negative holds no weight. That's not my place to do. And it's more so for me, like, I just don't want to put the energy into that. No. Like, what am I doing? Like, if I comment something like that, what am I doing? Am I looking for a response? Am I looking to wreck someone's day? Am I looking for someone to defend him so I can talk a shit about that person now too? Like, what am I looking for by posting a comment?
Well,
right? And then secondly, if someone comments on our stuff, right? Like, I see the same thing in them. Like, hey, man, what place are you in where you want to be next? Because I know my intent is good. And I also know that I stay in my lane of what I feel like I can confidently speak to. I'm not going to teach you rocket science. I'm not going to teach you how to build $1 billion business because I don't have one. But I feel where I am confident, where I have been successful, I will talk to. And if someone wants to be negative or whatever it may be, like I'm more empathetic to the position you have to be in to comment, or the just lack of self-awareness of where you're at to be able to comment, that I just pay no mind. And I'm comfortable with the intent I have, that I'm doing things for the right reasons, where it's like, man, and no one's ever really commented on our stuff. I think because we do kind of stay in our lane. And if someone did, it's like, hey, man, if you don't like what we're posting, first and foremost, I appreciate you listening to my content. Secondly, this works for us. If you've got a different way to go about it that works for you, hey, man, I'd love to hear more on that. And if you don't want to share it, you're just here to bash, hey, man, best of luck. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm just, because I understand, like, where would I have to be to post negativity towards someone, right? What am I looking for? Okay, cool. So when I'm the recipient of that, hey, what's that person looking for? To change my mood, to get me to get pissed off, to get me to like comment negative back to their negative, to like start. It's like, hey, man, you're not going to get that from me. And it's not because I don't want to let you win. It's just because I understand what you're doing, and it's very adolescent. And you have no context of me as a human, right? Like, you have no context of me. So why would I get in this debate of your superficial opinion of me versus just hey, man, appreciate you watching. And if it's not for you, man, appreciate you voicing that. And hey, man, have a great day. But thanks for at least giving me a shot. Thanks, man.
Well, successful people aren't sitting there during their successful day, running their successful business with their successful family and everything, just sitting on the couch, just writing negative shit on social media.
Well, here's the deal about over-indexing. We see this in real estate. How many times have we had people reach out to us saying they got like a great realtor to be a part of our team? And they're like, oh, man, he's a great talker, alpha male, super good dude. He's going to do a great job. And I go, hey, man.
Nope.
That's the last guy I want to meet.
Yeah.
What? Like,
yeah.
And let's explain this, right? And it's the same. And you actually brought this to my attention when you and I joined together and joined forces, right? Toward the darkness.
Son of a bitch.
I feel like Optimus Prime right now. We Optimus Prime would join forces with Eli Schmidt to eliminate Decepticons that are negative.
That's pretty good.
Right? And you brought it to my attention. I was like, yeah, man, you're right. Because we were talking about like what we feel makes us successful and things like that. And I talked about never shooting a rifle until boot camp and being a terrible swimmer, as in I didn't know how to, I was a rock before boot camp, right? So, but then having to work so hard at that, and we've told some of those stories on this podcast that you've talked about, just not being like this raw talent athlete. Like you always had to try really hard at things, but that's why you excelled.
Yeah.
And then we started looking into that in the business, and it was like, man, the alpha male that has been super athletic and super successful and super strong, and everything came like easy to them, and they tend to over-index and stay there. Now they're not only then are they gonna have a hard time in business if they don't get their mind right, but we see it in real estate. Like, hey, man, even if you get one deal in 6 months, you're not off track. And like people don't buy and sell homes overnight. You're not selling shoes here. You're not selling cars. You're selling homes. And when you're brand new, dude, sometimes it does take a little while to get your first deal. We had a girl on the team, man. She did 0 deals her entire first year. Then she came and did 9
with us,
or 7.
Yeah,
and then and then this year she did 12.
Yeah.
She went from 0 to 7 to 12, and now she's continuing to progress. And you're like, oh, 0. First and foremost, she stayed the course and she never quit. But dude, a lot of these, and I'm just quotations, alpha males, dude, they're not so good, and they don't know how to fail, or they think they do, because failure to them is, I only ran 20 miles instead of my 26-mile goal. Oh man, I failed, and I'm gonna get back up tomorrow and do it. Yeah,
so tangible.
But here's the deal: you know how to run,
and
you're good at it. It's just how good you want to get at it is the determining factor, but you're good at it. To me, it's like, it's a failure within a strength. Okay, like if I'm pitching a baseball game, you know, and I strike out 7 instead of 16, dude, I threw 91 and I'm left-handed. I'm gonna fucking burn you, right? Not a great curveball, but I would still look at certain games that I pitched as a failure, and it's like,
maybe even if you won the game, huh?
Oh yeah. And it's not that it's not a failure, but just please understand, there's a huge difference between a failure inside of a security versus a failure inside of an insecurity. As in, you've never sold homes before. And people are not returning your phone calls. People are not responding to the things that you want to do on social media. And you're insecure and uncomfortable with this world as it is. And you're failing, right? And it's like the perspective on the time. And it's like, hey, man, you've done it here. Dude, you worked out every day this year. And you've won this many shows. And you didn't start that way. Like your diet's good, your working out's good, your sleep's good, your caffeine is good, your energy's, and you do that over time. You know the time it takes, but you're putting the time it takes into a strength versus this complete unknown of business. Fitness is not always business.
Oh.
And in business, it's not always fitness. Sometimes people in business just grasp that really well. Like you start talking about P&Ls and how you market on social media, and some people just get it, the analytical side. And some people are like, what the fuck? You see
business is hard, man.
But it's like, man, failing inside of an insecurity, inside of an unknown, is so different than failing inside of one of your strengths. Like a Cam Newton or a Cameron Haynes.
Yeah.
You know, one of his 100 arrows is like a half inch outside of his normal circle.
Man. Oh, a half inch. He's pissed.
And it's like, hey, guys, some days you fail. You got to get back up. And you're like, fuck you, man. You're, but for him, but again, it's a failure within something that he's like extremely good at. But when we talk about business, right, like he was voicing about some of his frustrations. Not to use him as an example. I think he's a great guy. But I'm talking about strengths in unknowns, right? He was on his Instagram, and he was talking about how frustrated he was. And he wasn't like acting out or cussing. He's a pretty poised guy, and professional guy, but he was talking about how like he wears his trail shoes, his Under Armour trail shoes. And he says, it's literally, we did a great job on this. It is the best trail shoe I've ever worn, but you can't buy them. And he's just like, and he's like, we've done our side. We've created the traction. We've generated the demand for people that want this shoe, but they're not making the shoe.
Why?
I don't know. He didn't say. I don't know if
Under Armour's not making it?
I don't know if they're just discontinued it. I don't know if they're just not making enough. So it's like the demand is there, but they're not making enough. The bottom line is it's like, hey, that's not just your part. You did part of creating the demand. Well, you've got a lot of following on Instagram. So that demand is there, and it's in a strength with where you operate. But for some reason over here on the business side, whoever's running, Under Armour or whatever it may be, for some reason, there's disconnects there, and maybe it requires more involvement on your end to be there, right? And someone that like we do see some of that with is Dwayne Johnson. I don't know everything about him, but you hear some things. But that guy is involved not only on the image and brand side and creating the demand for what he does. He's also on the business development side, and you've seen some of his videos where he's literally in meetings with CEOs of Under Armour. And they're going over expectations and goals and productions. And he's making sure if I give you my fan base, this will pan out. And there's expectations. And maybe The Rock's done a great job on the business side over time of really setting expectations and still being able to monitor execution here versus, hey, man, I created demand over here. And it's like, well, you have a lot of following. And people really enjoy who you are. How hard did you work to sell a shoe? People trust your word. And I get it, value that, and man, you should be frustrated. But it's also a door opener for like, hey, maybe there's also an opportunity for more involvement on that side to make sure the execution happens, right? Yeah. Kind of like you and I.
Curious what the story is behind that.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, and he's a great guy, man. And I'm obviously shooting from the hip for the sake of just being able to have some conversation on the podcast. I'm not accusing him of maybe not even being involved. Maybe he is involved, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Cool. It's just an example here. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But let's go back to what we do know, right? And that's like real estate. We create the demand. Okay. We create enough clout, we get buyers, and we go get a buyer for a house.
Yep.
And now, cool, we submit an offer, and we're buying this house, right? Cool, we created that opportunity there. Does that mean that we just don't supervise the deal? Does that mean that we don't check in with the lender and we're just hoping to, well, hey, we did our part. We got the buyer to the house. We submitted the contract, and we put together a great conversation in a great communication setting and an offer to win the offer. We did inspections. We did we did appraisals. We did all this stuff. And then 3 days before closing, they don't get their clear to close. You don't know that they don't get their clear to close because you're not reaching out to lender. Then the day of closing, you're hearing it's not closing. Wow. We did our part. Hey, everything weaves together. You've got to be able to have checks and balances on the other side. So it's just, I guess what I'm getting at, business is hard.
It is, man.
Business is hard as fuck, man. And I think Cam is a great guy, so I hope I'm not being disrespectful or anything like that. I'm obviously just using a very limited story from Instagram that's very superficial, and he might have more involvement there, but out of respect, he's not speaking. So I'm just taking it on face value, right? I'm not disrespecting this guy, and if he is involved and there's more to it, Cam, right on, dude. I'm just using what I saw as an example for how frustrating business can be, and I'm sure he can speak to that as well on his own time out of his own mouth. But getting back to what we can speak to, real estate, like, dude, no, man, it's not my job to clean a house. But I'll tell you what, if I don't have my checks and balances in order, and the night before our clients are supposed to move into that house, it's dirty, or it's dirty on a final walkthrough, guess who's cleaning that house? Me?
We're about to do that this week.
Or I'm paying somebody, right? Yeah. And why do you think final walkthrough is there in the first place? Yeah. And if you know final walkthrough is there, because that's on your checks and balance list, right? Then before final walkthrough, you talk to that listing agent, and if they haven't done anything, you get your cleaner over there prior to final walkthrough, so the final walkthrough is amazing, right? But there's systems and process to everything, and sometimes you got to learn the hard way to learn it, but the bottom line is, no, it's not my job to be a cleaner. No, it's not my job to be a lender. No, it's not my job to be a lot of things, but you do wear a lot of hats, and you do have to communicate throughout the entirety of the deal, because all that matters, dude, is results. Client experience, successful closing. I don't give a shit about the unknown, because I know I've got the tools to adapt to that, and I've got systems and processes to help me see those unknowns as they arise. I'm very aware of not only unknowns in real time, unknowns I think might pop up based off of how well we've set control measures. So I'm mildly interested here, because I know we're going to we're going to get that. All I care about is a result. We're going to figure the rest out.
What people should realize, man, is, and this applies to everything, is that like doing the job is only part of the job. So for example, making money, getting money in the door. Awesome. Cool. Money's in the bank account. What do you do with it? Do you have a system? Do you have a process? And this is something I'm bringing up because personally I'm trying to learn all this stuff, because I realized, man, it don't matter how much money you make if you don't have a system and a process to actually manage it. That's like getting the property under contract. Okay, cool. Under contract. That's only step one, though. Man, there's a whole lot of babysitting and watching and just preparation and navigating that we need to go through. And that applies with, man, every single thing that you're doing. And that's part of the thing with business, is there's so many intangibles like that. And it's not just this one area. Like with fitness, we have gym and diet. Let's throw cardio in there too. That could go under gym. But it's like those are your two primary areas of focus. With business, bro.
But you've got stretching, you've got recovery, you've got type of training.
This is true.
You've got rest. So there's enough variables. There's at least enough variables for fitness to be a great barometer. Right. So like if you are diving into real estate or business or something new, or you want your fitness image, or what you've achieved in fitness to then be a brand, although like it's completely different, at least you've got a reference point of what hard work is. At least you have a reference point on how to Expose yourself to different types of training for different results. At least you've exposed yourself to enough trainers or enough things online. You know how to weed out people you think are full of shit that are trying to lead you, right?
See the dangers, man. Like, I'll see a guy at the gym, big ass front delts, terrible posture. You never see him stretch it, and it's like, man, yeah, you're huge, but like you're one bench press away from tearing that bicep tendon. You know, you're one this away from being out of the gym for 6 months. And again, you see that in business, man, when people are just so over leveraged, or myself, my personal mistakes when, you know, I was flipping homes and I tried growing too big too fast. And that was me just pumping weights and not stretching, you know, pumping weights and not getting my water in.
It's something I've been saying for a long time. People don't change until it's too painful not to.
Yeah.
Heard that from a buddy of mine a while back. Yeah. And it's not just pain as in like, people won't quit drinking alcohol until they, you know, end up in rehab. I'm not saying that. It could be that, right? Or people don't stop doing drugs until they OD. It could be that. I'm not saying it's that. It could also be, you know, so many different types of pain, right? Like when it comes to somebody not stretching, right, and learning how to recover muscles. They just like pressing a ton of weight and being extremely inflexible and whatever. Like, you know why they're not stretching or rolling out or recovering their muscles? Because they haven't maybe had a big injury. And some people, they have to kind of go through an injury and lose what they love most, I guess the gym, in order to go, man, maybe I should do more. You know, and then the same thing, like it's time to grow a business, and maybe COVID hit and you've got to improvise and adapt and just do something different because you got laid off, and maybe there is some online things you could do or some real estate things you could do or personal branding you could do, or maybe you're just in it for the personal brand. But you got to feed your family. And hey, maybe that pain there and losing it all or risking of losing it all really puts yourself in the right spot of like your back's against the wall, man, and you've got zero option. It's like I get better or I don't survive, you know. But like when there's outs, when there's that, I could just do Uber and Lyft every night and hate myself, but but I'll make $100 a night. You know what I mean? Like, or not a slight injury, maybe a sore shoulder or something like that, but it's not too terrible. It's like when there's these little outs, it gets me back to the original topic. The constant negotiations you have with yourself and how you allow the erosion over time of just little kind things you tell yourself or little outs that you give yourself.
Yeah.
And it ultimately, man, you're limiting your abilities and you're allowing doubt to creep in, and you're allowing doubt to control the narrative on those negotiations you have with yourself versus goal setting and caring about a result. And if you care about that result and that result is the end, then you're not going to care what you got to do to get to it. You're going to adapt. You're going to learn. You're going to take what you can from failures, right? You're going to scale what's been working for you. You're going to get around the right people. You're going to put the time in. If the result is important enough to you, period. And you know this, man. People that really got dedicated to fitness, yeah, if they got to wake up at 4 a.m. to do it, they wake up at 4 a.m. If they don't, they don't. But if they want to be a champion, right, man, they're putting the work in. And they're learning. Not only are they eating clean, they start going to, I don't do good on white rice, I do brown.
Yeah.
I don't do good on rice at all, I do sweet potato. They start learning not only like a good diet, but how their body reacts to specific good diets to maximize their body. And it's like, hey, the result of what they see themselves as and what they're trying to accomplish matters so much that they're figuring it out in the trial and error. When your result doesn't matter to you, you over-negotiate what you think and don't think or what you assume will be an outcome before you even get through it.
Yeah. Well, man, I think just knowing, like, first step, guys, just know that voice is there, right? That there's this other voice inside you. Andy Frisella, if you read his book, he would call it his bitch voice. I think it's important that people just realize that, hey, this voice is in there, and that's probably not going to go away. I still hear mine all the time. What I'm really good is recognizing when I hear that voice and understanding that that's not me, you know, and that I need to have these conversations with that voice, or just don't even listen to it at all, right?
And that takes practice.
It does take practice, and that's what I wanted to get to is, first of all, recognizing it, and even just recognizing it takes practice, but then pretty soon you're going to start recognizing, oh, hey, I'm negotiating with myself. This extra snooze button. I stayed up till this time last night. Let me sleep in till this. All that shit, my brain literally does that every single day.
Yep.
But every single day it's that same battle. So I think it's that practice and putting in the reps of not listening to it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool, man. Like the first time you're going to the pantry, you're about to grab, for my own personal experience, like the fruit snacks for my son, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I hear the voice, the good voice this time, as far as like the bitch voice got me to the pantry. And then it's the good voice that says, hey man, you don't need that right now.
Yeah.
And that's me. But then putting that back, as soon as you put that back and walk away, I'm like, ooh, that was a rep right there. That was a good rep right there.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. And I think a lot of the reason why we talk about fitness too, right, is like whether you're doing 75 hard or like Brian Shawtosh does those diesel days, you know, and he talks about the mental struggle and, oh man, what was the word that he used? You go from like struggling to, it's a positive word. I don't want to misquote it, man, because it's not my content, but it's something, you know. We did a diesel day with Tosh, so it's super, you know, we enjoyed it, and it was even everything I've done in life. It's perishable, right? Like the negotiations with yourself and being sharp and being on it. It's perishable if you're not constantly like finding an objective or finding something to go through. And diesel day was phenomenal, man. And I felt like I really needed it. And he talks about from like thriving. It was thriving when he talks about like enduring to excelling and then on into like thriving. And I still might be paraphrasing.
Or I think acceptance might be in there too, or something like just accepting the circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, and man, diesel day is such a good in your face, very clear. It takes these it takes these like philosophical ideas, these intangible thoughts, and it makes them very, very, very tangible.
Yeah, no, it does. And I'll read a little bit of it. Pulling from the pages of rough manuscript, collecting notes from conversations, podcast experiences, and reflecting on my own mindset process, we created a deliverable that distills a checklist from successes and failures throughout a military career and an extensive resume of adventure, events, and lifestyle endeavors. The most effective and efficient way to develop the character that builds a mental attitude focused on enduring, then into thriving, is through experience and practice. Listening or reading about it is minimally transformational. Transformational. And it's true, you know, and I think that's something we really appreciate about Diesel. And if you guys ever have any questions on Diesel Day and Brian Shawtosh, please reach out. We'd love to get you introduced. And if you guys are ever, you know, curious about putting yourself through a 24-hour physical endurance, it's amazing. But it does. You have to practice the negotiations with yourself, right, and get through that. And physical is a great vehicle to recognize where you're having those negotiations with yourself, right? Like in business, everybody's a top producer at some level, right? Top producer on your team, top producer in the office, top producer in the region. Jesus criminy, right? Or like stats in sports. This guy is the best baseball hitter in November when it's a 3-1 account on a Tuesday. Fuck, dude, are you kidding? How did you even find that? Like, good on you for finding. Computers are smart. Yeah. But secondly, it's like, what? Right? Like, and it's, you know, so again, like in business and entrepreneurship, it's like, it's not so obvious, you know, like where you're excelling and where you're not, because you can justify anything. I don't want to be this guy. I don't want to be this social media rah guy. Like, do you think Jordan Peterson's that? No, I love the guy. Okay, well, he's on there more than the other guy you're talking about. Again, it comes down to intent, but physical, it's very, did you do that workout in this time or not?
Yeah.
Did you complete your marathon in a certain time or not? Did you complete an Ironman in a certain time or not? It's very black and white. And again, like the physical, it surfaces things out. And the concern I have sometimes for my fitness friends is you're just over-indexed in that. Like, you're not applying this. Like, yes, you're failing and successing there. Yes, you're having good days and bad days there. Yes, you're striving for more there, but it's still in this pond. You're over-indexing and you're feeding this one when, man, what about your business? And it's like, what are you, a fucking speakeasy?
Or what about your family? Yeah.
Or family.
Or what about your finances? What about a lot of things?
Yeah. A lot. You're right. Or like just past clients and following up with them in certain things. But the biggest reason why we do use fitness is because, man, that physical, it's such a great platform that exposes some of these things for you to go initiate these conversations with yourself and force yourself to do better during some of these negotiations that you can then take back into the rest of your life and use. But you've got to, and I think the biggest thing too, like after Diesel Day, like they were prominent and we felt it. You got to find a way to take that system and whatever you learn there, you got to apply it to every day. Otherwise, Diesel Day, over time just fades. Yep. Otherwise, going to Tony Robbins convention and getting all jazzed up and he's taught you a ton in 72 hours, then you go home and then what? Like you got to have systems and processes that take these tools and these conversations that were good with yourself. They've got to translate. Or same thing, your success in fitness, how does it translate to your business? Your success in business, how does that translate to your family? And how could you apply the same organization, care, consistency, expansion to learn new things and pay attention and do the things you don't want to do with your family? And if you even did half of that with your family, you're a kick-ass dad. You're a kick-ass mom. And this all comes from a good place, because there's so many people that I just wish the world had more of.
Yeah.
And there is a way to do it without being a D-bag. I'm so ready to just watch those guys blow the fucking roof off of things. But obviously it's on their own time. And I also feel like some of those guys have taught us a lot in fitness. Yep. Some of those guys taught us a lot on a Diesel Day. I feel like, man, we could teach you guys a lot over here. Not to say that we know better than anyone else or none of that, but just like, hey, man, you help so many people here and you've helped us here. Man, I feel like there's a couple things we do here that still keep the integrity around for what we want to be. How we could help you with that, and it's like now it's just like there's just value given across the table, and it's awesome, man. And it's just exciting to get around those guys and get those guys jazzed up for something.
Yeah, bro. So it's a good one today.
It's a great one, man. Yeah. Happy Friday.
Or whatever day you're listening to it. Happy day.
Yeah. Hey, every day's Friday. Get yourself in the right mindset. Every day's Friday and get after it and just, man, really pay attention to what you think and feel about yourself. Yeah. And if you think your intent isn't good, hey, cool, talk about that with yourself, But if your intent is there and your heart's in the right place with what you're doing, get out there and get after it and do it, and just understand that it's not always going to be perfect, but you're going to get better over time, just like you've gotten better over time in another aspect of your life. And if the result of your success matters, you're going to figure out these unknowns and you're going to find a way to market and brand and expose yourself to people in the way that you want to do so, man. And we're super excited for that.
What do we got going on in the future, bro?
Yeah,
Next
man.
week, what do we got?
We're seeing Andy Frisella.
Yep.
We're going to head out there Monday night. We're going to be there Tuesday and hang out. We come back Christmas Eve, and then I'm sure we'll get some family time, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and that should be fun. We're going to be back on, we were just on Joshua Smith's podcast.
GSD Mode.
What a badass.
Yeah,
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Joshua, you're a badass. And I think we're going to be a little bit more regulars on his, maybe once a month. I know he's kind of like feeling that out. We're trying to put together just more conversations of just kind of not broing out, but just guided conversations on business, and that's cool. And I know as we do more with him, that product will get more dialed in, and I look forward to more with him. Yeah, man. Hopefully we can see some friends. We got a friend we're gonna go see in Virginia pretty soon.
Yep.
Can't tell you who he is. If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
That's for real.
That's for real. Yeah, literally. Sorry. But I'm excited to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hope we get to see Tosh soon.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, man. It always jazzes me up to talk with him and everything he's got going on. And yeah, so be exciting to get around him. But yeah, man, we've got a good year. I know you and I are doing some good things with some goal setting, and we've hit extraordinary highs with our business, career highs with our business. And it's been not long. It's kind of gone. I guess it's gone by pretty quick. But man, it's been a grind, like an every single day grind. I think we took maybe a couple days off the entire year, but we almost worked. We worked the majority of the weekends this year, and just really putting the work in. I'm really proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of what we've accomplished. I'm proud of what we represent. I'm proud of how we represent our clients, and I'm excited for just the new workload of what's coming for that next. Every step of success, it feels like it opens up like the next opportunity that also adds the next level of workload to it. So the workload never stops. You just get something different, and then maybe some of your old workload goes away.
Goes somebody else.
Like, for example, maybe at some point you and I are not doing the transactions, right? Maybe we have agents doing the transactions, but then it's because our time and energy is doing something else that grows the brand, right? So it's never so much about the workload going away. I think it just changes. And I think, just a decentralized command, right? Just giving people roles and responsibilities and replacing yourself so you can graduate to that next level of success. And it's cool. We got a cool
sir.
thing going. We got
We
cool,
do.
really cool people around us. I think the biggest thing I'm proud of is, shout out to Jesse and Jackson that do real estate with us, man, over with EXP. They're great guys, super creative, super down to earth, just super smart, really good at marketing and especially the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Great guys to be around. Mark Pattison in San Diego. We just saw him this past
fun.
weekend. He's a
good dude.
super sharp
We had him
guy.
on our podcast a few months ago.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have him on again. I call him Marky Mark. That's I don't know if he likes that or not, but it's what you get, Mark. Marky Mark. He's such a good dude. High performing, high level guy. Yeah, man. Taco. Brian Sean Tosh. I just think about that guy a lot, man. I feel like if I have a mentor, it's him, and it's unsolicited. I kind of force him into that role. I'm not saying he's a
lot of mentors are that way, though.
Officially accepted me into that role. No, man. He tells me he loves me and thinks the world of us. And I know, man, we think the world of him. And I always love getting around that guy. He's just got such good, just organic, like,
just real, man.
Established, just an original,
Very thoughtful. Yeah. I appreciate people that you can just tell are thoughtful.
Yeah. And I think you and I, man, we've got a lot of people around us, in business. We've done a lot. We've expanded a lot and we've met a lot of people. But there's just a core group of people, that we've really kind of like hit home with that are close, that just I love trying to do the best I can to add value to them because of the value that, the value add that they have for us. But what I'm really excited for is that. Yeah. And I'm proud of that because it's people I can trust from my family. And I just feel like, what I feel like it is? It's super corny. It's super corny. But I love movies. And I love movies for what they are. You watch a war movie and like you always got the guys that are like, oh, that's not realistic. Who cares? It's a movie. Just watch the shit blow up, would you? Stop talking over Mark Wahlberg, okay? He's a hero right now. And it's like, but I like just absorbing a movie and just putting myself in it and enjoying it for what it is. I feel like the people we're kind of putting around us, man, it's kind of like Fast and Furious. You know what I mean? Like we're just like
this ragtag group of
just loyal dudes that are out just trying to be better. And we've robbed a couple banks and trucks and shit, but like it's all good because we feel bad for it. We're gonna get better, but
we're gonna feel bad for it.
No, but it does feel like that. You know what I mean? And like that super gadget Jesse kid with like the Volkswagen, Mark Pattison all day,
100%.
Taller and better looking than the actor. But then Tosh probably has to be Vin Diesel. I gotta give it up.
Funny.
If there is a Tosh that's just like for the people and for integrity and like just a true leader that people would follow and he's just doing it the right way. As much as I'd like to be that, Tosh is Vin Diesel.
I don't know. I think Tosh is more the Paul Walker type, bro. You don't think so?
No, because Vin Diesel's quieter. Paul Walker.
Really? Yeah.
First of all, I'm a cop motherfucker, so I get the pretty boy.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I'll get to you in a minute.
You got the blue eyes and shit.
Okay, but Tosh is just more soft spoken, man, and just a little bit more calculated, and he's just more. He's just more off the beaten path, right?
Yeah.
Versus Paul Walker was like, he was the cop. He was ambitious to like be detective. He was throwing himself into this car gang. He was talking a good game to get into the car gang.
Yeah, that's
Then he
true.
fell in love with the car gang.
100%.
That's me.
100%.
Tosh, he's at like just off in the corner.
Yeah.
And he's just watching his crew kind of do his thing. And when he has to talk, he talks. And when he does, it hits, right? Yep. But you could be called, you could be Paul because you're better looking. Maybe I'm The Rock. Fuck it. I'll be modest. I'll be modest.
Who's the Hispanic chick in there? Letty?
Yeah. Oh, are you banging Tosh? Are you banging Tosh?
I might be.
We're going to have a conversation about that.
Letty all day over here.
No wonder why he's all worked up.
That's funny.
No, and all jokes aside, right? But no, man, I guess, you could be Paul.
I'll take Letty.
I'll be there. I'll be a combination of like The Rock and Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Modestly, I think I right there. But you guys know what I mean. I love watching movies, man. I'm a movie guy. It's fun to just absorb it and just let it jazz you up and be motivated. It doesn't always have to be real. It's all good, but the ideology behind like the loyalty of that group and everything, and I feel like we've got a good crew around us, man.
Great crew, man.
I get jazzed up seeing those guys and trying to provide value. So I think the biggest thing, man, is like, man, getting to see Andy. What a cool guy. What a highly successful guy that is still giving back to guys that are on the climb. Mm-hmm. That shit right there is real as it gets. Yeah. And I really appreciate him for that. And so I'm excited for that. And just Dan Bailey, can't forget that guy. Danny Broflex. We're going to have some fun with that guy. He gave us our time and we had a good podcast, and he's going to come see us while we're at headquarters at First Form. He's going to drive down and see us, and we're going to get a Danny Broflex workout in. And
if you guys have not heard that podcast,
phenomenal.
Episode 80.
Episode Dan Bailey. Just look it up.
Dan Bailey.
Yeah, hence computers.
Works.
But he's giving us our time, and he's driving down to hang with us that
Hey.
day. You know, and like, hey, that's cool, man. Like, that's someone's time. And I think beyond the money and the growth and expansion of our company and everything that we're doing, it's really cool to just like do it our way on our terms and put good people around us and feel like we give them value as well, and just grow how we want it, man. And just almost like growing like this external family around us in addition to like your blood family, like this chosen family of just good people around. And yeah, dude, super cool.
Well, guys, as always, we appreciate you listening.
Yeah, man.
Day One $0 podcast, again, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play,
Facebook.
Wherever you find podcasts, you can find us. We do live stream our videos on Facebook and YouTube, so check us out there as well. And then, like Will said in the beginning, if you guys like this podcast or find any value in it, a review on iTunes goes a long way. Just telling a buddy about it is appreciated way more than you guys know.
Dive in, have a great time.
All right, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you.
Out.
All the same, but exemptions are needed.